All right. So, officially welcome. We are recording. My name is Sarah McAllister. I am the Senior Associate Director for Alumni Career and Professional Development. And Nina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Nina. I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Career and Professional Development, and I'll be all things tech today. So if any of you have any issues with the chat or anything like that, you can just ask me.
Perfect. So because as you can see, we are recording today and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with our YouTube channel, we have over 70 PDS sessions that we've done previously. And I would encourage you to check those out. Just like today with Lily, we have lots of different topics, anywhere from uh, basically like how to job search to what does it look like to be in a particular industry to what we're going to talk about today. So as I am just kind of going over a few more logistics, I'd love for you all to share in the chat where you are joining from. That's always one of my favorite things to see where everybody's coming from. And then we also want this to be a conversation. So there's going to be time for questions at the end. Lily is a great resource to just answer all of your questions. And then if we can't get to all of them, I'm sure that we could email Lily afterwards to connect. So, okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead. Lily, well, one quick background. Nina and I have had several conversations with Lily, and every time I've just been really excited to hear your story and also to learn from you in terms of how you're navigating this particular part of your life. So I know I'm going to learn a lot, and thank you for your time and thank you for being here today. So I'm going to let you take it away and introduce yourself how you would like.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Nina and Sarah, so much for having me and everyone for joining today. I had this idea to um, I knew that there were so many great alumni connections and resources for all the undergrad students and beyond. And I know that when I was an undergrad student, and even now being, an alumni for almost 4 years, there are so many resources for people who know exactly what they want to do or have a direct career path. And, we've been in school our whole lives and we're just expected to know exactly what we want to do when we get out of college. So I've been kind of taking a circuitous route to get where I want to go. And life is long and you can experience a lot of things. So I'm trying to share all the fun adventures I have had since graduating in 2020, all the things I've learned, some tips and tricks and resources, and how you can kind of make your life what you want it to be, and just give you some confidence in that if you don't know exactly what you want to do right now or tomorrow or next year, that is all good and we're all figuring it out. And you should do what makes you happy and what you want to do. So, with that, and my name's Lily, I graduated in 2020, if I didn't say that already, from Los Angeles, California, currently living in New York. So that's a little bit of background on me and what I want to share with you today. And should I just get started in the presentation
Yeah,
that I have?
Yeah, share
yeah.
that screen.
I will. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. And I know Sarah and Nina will take care of it and make sure they're answered. And at the end, I can share my email and phone number or whatever. And yeah, if you have continual questions or if you think of something later. So that is that. We will get this started in 1 second. Okay, can everyone see? Are we good?
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, awesome. So, forging your non-traditional entrance into the workforce is the title of my life and the presentation today. Um, so a little bit about my life right now. I live in New York City, and I have some seasonal jobs. In the summer from about May through September, I work and help run a music festival in Central Park, which is ultimately what I want my career to be in, which is music. I run the artist hospitality department. Um, and I'm also a figure skater, so I like to do that on the side as well. I have a tour coming up in March before Summer Stage, and then last year I also did a show in France. And I also, when I'm not doing music stuff, I help run um, an events group that puts on rooftop events in the city. So those are kind of a few of the things that I do right now. But if we go back to post college, where have I gone from the end of college, graduating in 2020 in the pandemic, to now? I just thought that I wanted to have some adventures. I'd been in school my whole life and I wanted to get out and live, and I didn't want to sit at a 9 to 5 desk job right away, or maybe ever, but at the time I felt right away I didn't want to do that. And I also graduated in the pandemic, and I wanted to get out of town. So I decided that I wanted to be a ski instructor in Aspen. So if you see over on the left, there's a picture of me. That's actually my boyfriend. We met as ski instructors in Aspen. I moved to Aspen and I was a ski instructor and I coached figure skating. And then from there, I decided with my boyfriend to do a bike tour down the west coast of the US. So I started in northern Washington and we did over 1,050 miles all the way to San Francisco. And we did a road trip across the country. I moved back home to LA for a second, just to regroup and see what I wanted to do next. And I worked as a professional figure skater in that middle photo where I have a crazy costume and a wig on. I'm on the right. I was a stunt double on a TV show. And then I moved to New York. I started working for that music festival, but then that ended in that September. And I decided I still really wanted to pursue figure skating. So I did a tour in France, which was a wonderful experience. I loved it. And then I still had some time before doing summer stage the next year. So I went to Panama and worked on a boat as a deckhand. So there's a picture of me on the bottom, in the middle of the ocean. And then I did another round of summer stage. And then this past year I ran the New York Marathon. So there's a little picture of me in the corner, running the marathon. So that's a little bit about me and some of my fun adventures that I have done since graduating college. And if I had planned this, adventure to adventure when I had graduated college, I mean, that would be crazy. I just started with skiing and then kind of one thing led to another. And the more that I kind of honed that skill of like, what do I want? What do I want to do next? What can I make work? And figuring out how to just continually be on the move. A lot of cool things fell in place and I got to know myself much better. So I could have never planned any of this to happen. It kind of all happened one after the other. And now I'm living a life of adventure and of cool things. And I feel like I'm really getting to know myself better and still making progress and connections and strides forward into the music industry while still getting to have other adventures and dreams as well. So that's a little bit about me. I know it's a mouthful, but of course, nobody's going to have the same path that I do. And I'm sure none of you have the same dreams that I do. But I'm hoping to just share a little bit about how I've gotten to know myself better, how I've gotten to figure out what I want, because your life is so structured. You're in school, you know what you're doing every day, and then you get out of school and it's like, what do I want? What am I going to do? How do I even get to know what I want to do? So the next slide is about what should we ask ourselves first when we're going to graduate college, right? That's what I asked myself. I was like, what do I want? Do I want a 9 to 5? Do I want a career? Do I want to travel? Do I want to move somewhere new? And even these questions can be a little bit difficult to find the answer. So then I went to my next question, which is, okay, on a more basic level, what excites me? Like, what gives me energy? What when I have a booked day that's super busy, what makes me so that I'm not exhausted at the end of the day? Because sometimes I have a super busy day, but I'm energized by the work I'm doing. So my first tip is, or at least what I did, was make a list. So skiing, I loved. Music, working in music, I loved. Skating, I loved, and traveling, I loved. So I kind of made a list of all those things that give me energy. And then I made a bucket list. I was like, okay, what things in my craziest, wildest dream world do I want to do? And so I put work on a boat. I put, bike across the country, all those things that seem really great, but you're not really sure how to get from point A to point B. So I made a bucket list. And then I started making daily, weekly, quarterly, and yearly goals. And this is really important because when you're jumping from job to job, when you're moving around a lot, every day looks different. I don't have the structure of a 9 to 5, which in some ways is very liberating, but if you don't really have a good plan in place, is really actually super stressful, because you just kind of feel listless. So having all those goals written down that I can come back to that kind of can ground me, were great. And I implemented a timeline of, again, with the daily, weekly, quarterly, yearly goals, like what goals fit into each category. And I have a journal, so I write that all down, and that's super helpful. And then I also, just for daily structure, what are the things that I need to do every day to make me feel like I am making progress? And one of those is exercise. I get up early and I exercise every morning. That's a non-negotiable. And that is partially helpful because I'm a figure skater, and so I need to stay in good shape, but also just for my mind, that is extremely important to me and just sets my day off on the right track. And I also journal first thing in the morning, kind of check in with myself, see how I'm feeling, and then I kind of go from there. The last thing that I think is really important that has kind of, well, I think you should have a few through lines that are consistent no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing. And for me, that is a social network that, my friends, whether I live there or not, that I can call any time of the day. And then also having a job that is you can do anywhere. So for me, that was babysitting. I babysat in high school and college and after college, and it has been a great consistent job that I can do anywhere. And I know that no matter where I am, for the most part, I will have a job and be able to make some type of money. So that's kind of like the first thing that I was getting straight, post college. Continuing on with this slide, keep your another thing that's really important is keeping your network alive. All of the jobs that I have gotten in basically any industry since graduating college, have been through connections that I've made. My job in New York, actually, through this music festival that I got, even though I didn't know anyone working in music in New York, was through my boss as an intern at Live Nation when I was in college at New Orleans. So make sure you're keeping up all of your connections, because that is going to help you a lot. I send happy birthday texts. I send holiday texts when I'm in town, grabbing coffee, like just making sure. I sometimes even have spreadsheets of people who I know and their contact information in certain areas so that I know I'm never forgetting anyone, and just kind of keeping up those pleasantries, so that when they need something, you're at the front of their mind, and vice versa. When you need something, you can go look at their contact information and be like, I should reach out to that person. Another thing that I have learned, because while I'm doing something, it's always seasonal or it's usually pretty short. And so if I'm not enjoying my life in the moment, then why am I doing this? Like, I could be perennially stressed by all the things that I have to plan for and that I have to do. So it's really pushed me to live in the moment, live in the present, enjoy what I'm doing, make sure I'm implementing joy every day, and I have something to look forward to. So I'm very extroverted. For me, that usually looks like plans with friends or doing fun things with friends. But that will look different to everyone. And then I know this sounds kind of silly, but I make a list of my accomplishments and I check them off. And sometimes I look at them, because just barreling through life, you can forget all the things that you did. And it's grounding and reassuring to when you're feeling like, oh, today I don't know if I have anything, or I'm kind of like, stressed or whatever. You can look at that accomplishment and be like, okay, I am working towards something bigger. I'm not just running around like a chicken with my head cut off, even though it feels that way sometimes. So I think being proud of yourself and looking at your accomplishments from small to large is really helpful and good. At least it helps me. And then lastly, another thing that I like to implement is when I'm looking for a job, I don't only look at the salary or at the hourly wage, because that can be a little bit deceptive. I also look at like the benefits, the things that I'm not paying for. So one of the things that I love, obviously, is going to concerts. And when I work in music, I obviously get all the shows that I work, I get to go for free, but also knowing people in the music industry, I usually get tickets to other shows for free or discounted. So that's like a big thing that I don't have to pay for in my life. And then also, there's oftentimes food at work, or if I'm babysitting, there's food at babysitting. Or, if someone's flying me somewhere to do something, travel is paid for, and I try to take advantage of like a family that I work for. Sometimes they fly me out to Miami, and I try to take advantage of the things that are going on in Miami because they pay for it. So there are really a lot of ways that you can kind of finagle getting things paid for, including for me actually. This past year, I've lived with a family in New York, and I helped out with their family, and I was also doing a lot of other things. But my rent was extremely subsidized, so it takes a lot of work, but you can kind of figure out a way to make your life a little bit cheaper, and do all the things that you want to do while on a budget. The next slide. So I talked about this a little bit, but having a job that you can do anywhere is really important and crucial so that you're never stuck having a lot of expenses. And for me, that's been babysitting. I'm sure there's a lot of remote work that you can do from anywhere, especially part-time, personal assistant, bartender. These are some, jobs that you can get and do kind of anywhere. And for me, it's been the gift that's kept on giving. I've babysat for a lot of wealthy families, and it's been a great networking opportunity for me. If they trust you with your kids, they're going to write you a great letter of recommendation. Also, it's really stabilizing. I like all of my friends, but we're all in our mid-20s and going through one crisis after another, and we're all the same at the same time. And being with a family with little kids and with older parents, it's very grounding and stabilizing to be in an environment where people just do not have the same problems that you have. And also I use it as a way to get other things done. So when the kids are napping or sleeping, I can either work on another project or send emails, or, even just do my finances. And it's almost like I'm getting paid to just do them because I'm just sitting there while the kids are asleep, so I don't have to pay attention. And kids also bring me a lot of joy. That's another good aspect of that. And also, again, like I said earlier, free food. So those are all great benefits to having a job that is a through line. And then, lastly, I just want to touch on a little bit about how Tulane has kind of had an impact on my life and how grateful I am for it, and New Orleans in general. And maybe some ways that you guys can take advantage of the city as well. I was like, as a little kid, I was very worried about being a competent adult and, making sure that I had all the tools to get a good job and to pay for everything. And I kind of had that a little bit in college too, but moving from LA to New Orleans, just seeing the work-life balance of everyone in that city and them wanting to enjoy their lives, of people working really hard, but also loving to go to music and culture and art, kind of impacted how I saw the world and how I rethought how I wanted to live my life. And I've really taken that with me everywhere I go. And it's really important that even though I work hard, that I also want to enjoy my life and enjoy music and, have it all, as they say. And Tulane has just been a wonderful resource for any questions that I've had about career and life, and a really supportive community. And I actually worked a lot. The reason that I even know that I want to go into the music industry eventually full time is I worked a lot in the music industry in New Orleans. I worked as an intern for Live Nation. I worked I volunteered with Jazz Fest. I worked Trombone Shorty Fest. I worked Sugar Ball, all these like little music festivals with amazing, diverse New Orleans artists that really showed me a world of music and diversity that I would not have been exposed to if I had not been at Tulane or in New Orleans. And so I am so grateful for everything that Tulane and the city of New Orleans has given me. And I really do think it's the reason that I am able to change my mindset to be able to live my life the way that I have been for the past almost 4 years. And if there's anything that I hope you guys take away today, it's, not that you should live your life exactly the way that I'm living mine. I know that for many people, it's very unstable and that can be way more stressful than just having a 9 to 5 job. But I hope that you think about the things that you want in your life and that you don't think that anything is impossible and you can really make your life what you want it and have fun and travel, and you don't have to be confined to any societal rules that you don't want to be. So that is my presentation.
Thank you, Lily. We had a couple questions kind of come in like direct message, so I wanted to just kind of go through those. And then if you all have any questions or other suggestions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I wanted to come back to when you were talking about like maintaining your network. How these are some questions that I often get, like when you have the babysitting jobs or you're kind of keeping those contacts warm. How do you go from kind of the what am I trying to say? How do you go from basically how do you like approach those people to ask them for opportunities or to ask them for, kind of a more formal ask of like, hey, can you introduce me, or I'm looking for these opportunities. Can you kind of talk through that a bit?
Totally. Well, I'm pretty warm and friendly as it is, and I think just having actually all the families that I've worked for have come to me asking if there's like what I want and if there's anything they can do for me, because they see that obviously I work hard, I'm interested in life, and I do have other passions besides babysitting. I don't want to be a babysitter slash nanny for my career or for forever. And a lot of families really want to help young, ambitious, bright people. And so with my experience, and just showing that I do a really good job taking care of the kids and being friendly and just striking up conversation just to get to know one another, they from there will ask you about your life and ask you what you want. And I would say like 100% of the time they've said, oh, like I have a friend in music that I could set you up with. And so it's much more come from me kind of planting the seeds from the side and them like actually coming to me. But I would say if that's not really happening and you want to be a little bit more forward, I think that's totally fine. I just would wait till there's you have a good relationship and you've worked for them for a while. Like I wouldn't say that straight out the gate because it might seem a little opportunistic. But if you have a good rapport, if the kids clearly love you and you have a consistent schedule, I would say yeah, feel it out. I guess there's no real timeline, maybe after a few months or something, but in my experience, the parents have come to me.
That's great. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I'd love to hear about kind of the different resources that you've used throughout your travels, and both in terms of like general resources, but also like budgeting and finances, like what's been really helpful for you.
Totally. Yes. I meant to talk about this, so I'm glad you brought it up. So I've had to be a little bit smart about my finances because, I don't have a 9 to 5 where I have a 401k or a retirement plan. So when I graduated, I created a Roth IRA. I have a high yield savings account in addition to like a regular checking account. And I just like when I get a paycheck, I just make sure that I put a portion, I make sure to max out my Roth IRA every year. And I put, what money I can that's left over into my high yield savings account. But you really do have the resources to set yourself up for success if you know what resources you have. I was never taught this stuff. I had to ask friends and family, but yeah, if you have a friend who's in finance or something like that, or I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good read of what you should be doing and have been doing it for a while. So people can also ask me. And I have friends who are more experts if I can't answer the question. But yeah, making sure that you have a plan financially is really important. And then beyond that, yes, like I said, babysitting, like that's important to have a consistent job. So you always have some type of revenue coming in. But then also in New York City, like, yeah, I said I sublet only. So I never am paying for rent when I'm out of town, which is obviously a huge luxury. I have had to move a lot in New York City, but it's worth it to me because I want to be able to use my money to go towards other things. And There are, especially in New York City, I think some in New Orleans as well. A lot of big cities do have resources for young people or cheaper options. So my friends and I, we actually go to the ballet pretty often, and they have a program for like 30 under 30. So it's $30 for a ticket. You know, the movies are $5 at AMC on Tuesdays. Like my friends and I cook a lot at home. What else do we do? They're just like little things like, for workouts, I mean, I run in the park, but also I use ClassPass, which is, discounted workouts, and you can use them at multiple cities. Just like little things like that that can kind of are a little bit more budget friendly. But yes, I have a high yield savings account. I have a checking account. I have a retirement account. And I try to keep my savings account like a little bit cushy, just because sometimes in a transition or I have a bigger expense, I do have to dip into it. But for the most part, I know how much money I need to be making, and I usually hit that every month doing multiple jobs and not paying for food.
Awesome. I love that. Um, oh, what was my question? I forget. Give me one second. How do you find sublets? Is it like word of mouth for you in New York, or do
Great,
you use like a specific like website or Facebook group or something like that?
great question. There are a lot of New York resources, and I actually put together. I'll send this to you guys after. I did put together a little sheet of some of the resources that I use that
Awesome.
I can, continue adding to it. But Facebook is amazing. Facebook, there are always people in New York looking for, especially creatives in New York, who are like, if you just want to try it out for like 3 months, that are gone, doing some dance show somewhere, or, a residency somewhere else. So, and they usually are cheaper than, than like they would actually be paying rent, because they're just trying to recoup whatever money they can on the apartment.
Mhm.
So I have never paid more than $1,000 a month for rent in New York City, and I've been in the city the whole time. I haven't been outside in any of the suburbs. Um, and so yeah, mainly Facebook groups. There is an app called Roomy that I found helpful. But yeah, Facebook is my main one. They're amazing, and there are so many chats all the time and so many groups all the time. Um,
Cool.
yeah.
That's awesome. Another question that we got is about health insurance, but I don't know if you have had experience with like marketplace stuff or not, depending on, I know people age out at some point, so I just didn't know if you had any
Yes, I
information on that.
do have to pay for my own health insurance. That's a great question. I'm on even though I just turned 26, so normally I'd be on my parents' health insurance. My parents are a little bit older, so I wasn't able to be on their health insurance. So I have a very like limited plan. I don't take, I mean, not, I don't like need any prescription medication. So I think has made it easier, but it's a very minimal plan, like only if something really bad happens, which I don't know if that's, you know, for everyone. It covers my eye doctor, and it covers like a yearly checkup, but I'm good beyond that. So it's pretty cheap, but that being said, it doesn't cover a lot. So I do pay for my own health insurance.
Cool. Okay, that's awesome. Do you have anything else planned for the rest of the year? Can you tell us a little bit about like anything else that you have coming up?
Yeah, so I decided that even though I did a show last year, a skating show, I was like, oh, I'll just be one and done. I don't have to do another one. But I really missed it, and I decided I wanted to do another one. So I'm doing a month-long show in Miami, which I'm really excited about, from March to April. Then I will be back in New York City, and I will be working for Summer Stage, which if anyone's in New York City, they should come. It's wonderful. It's a music festival in Central Park that partners partially with the city to do a lot of diverse cultural events. So we have like a Brazilian festival, and we'll have a Taiwanese festival, and it's really fun. And that's free to the public. They do have half the shows are ticketed by Live Nation. So those shows you have to pay for, but a lot of those shows are free, which brings me to another point about New York City, is that there's a lot of free things that you can do in New York City that are really fun, whether it's museums, shows, whatever. So I will do that for the summer. And then in the fall, my boyfriend is studying, or he's working as a field biologist in Africa, in Madagascar. So I'm hoping to go visit him in Madagascar, and hopefully we're going to climb Kilimanjaro on our way back to the United States. And then we are doing a sailing trip with a couple that we met. We're doing a sailing trip from San Diego to Panama, and then from Panama to Florida for the winter of next year. So that is my year.
Lily, thank you so much for walking us through just how you're navigating this really, really interesting and exciting life that you've built. I know that Nina is going to share those resources that you'll send to us. So thank you for that. I wanted to see, if people want to stay in touch with you and ask you any questions or connect, what's the best way that they can do that?
Of course. I can put in the chat. I'm happy to answer. I'm always talking on the phone and texting. So I'm happy if anybody wants to text me or call me. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. But you can I also check my email a lot. So I can put my email in the chat as well. Here, let me stop sharing my screen. And then 1 second. As I was telling Nina and Sarah, I'm not very good at using Zoom. But I can put my phone number and email in the group chat, and I also am on Instagram, and you're welcome to follow me or DM me there as well. But I'm very responsive, so please, if there's anything I didn't cover, if there's anything that you're confused on or want further questions, do not hesitate to reach out.
Perfect. No, I think this, like we said before, I think it's just really helpful to again have you walk us through kind of how you've navigated this. And I know that this is going to be a really great resource for future alums as we just kind of connect them with you and connect them with your experience. So with that, do you want to close us out with any final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. And yeah, if nothing else today, I hope you just know that life is long and there's room to try everything and to figure out what makes you happy. And I hope you do that. So that's it.
All right. Thanks, Lily. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Lily. Bye, everyone.